Hi lovelies and welcome to the Witch's Cookery. Early fall, I'm usually still in my cozy, comfy Mrs. Weasley witch face, but when a Samhain is approaching, I can just feel the pull of the misty streets and the scent of the rotten leaves pulling me over into the more spiritual, spooky practices that we can do this time of year. In last week's video, you can find cozy, comforting, fun fall activities that will pull on your witchy heartstrings. But this week we're going to dive more into the ones in preparation for Samhain. Only recently I read a really nice sentiment about fall. The autumn leaves are showing us the beauty in letting go. And it is true, this time of year we are shedding all the weight, all the buildup, all the life from the summer, and we're retreating, we're going towards the winter time. It's a liminal time, it's a time in between where we can feel that shift and that cycle of life. We're now shifting from big, full energy into the calm and rest and wintering. As a witch, I'm living with the season and with what is happening in nature. And right now, nature is shedding dead weight. The trees are letting go of the leaves, flowers, plants are wilting, are dying off. And from a spiritual point of view, we can also use this idea to create spellwork or ritual that allows us to experience the same in our own life, bringing something to an end, laying it to rest in order to keep that natural cycle going that will also again make space for new life and new beginnings again. So my first idea for you is to do a little burial ritual. Now, how could it look like? You could start off with a really nice meditation, just taking the time either by thinking, by journaling, by chanting, by sitting in silence and, seeing what comes up, or by also asking tarot, oracle, or runes certain questions that have to do with where in my life am I dragging around dead weight? What areas of my life are really overdue with letting something go? This could, for example, be emotions towards someone or something. It could be people in your life. It could be a habit that you have, a belief that you hold. Maybe you don't even have to meditate on it because you immediately have your mind jump to a certain topic where you feel already the dread, the pull, and the extra weight, the unnecessary weight that you're carrying around with you at the moment. That is kind of sucking the life out of you too. Now, when you have found what you want to bury in that ritual, you can symbolically make that. If it's a physical item, you're already done with that step. If it's not, you can craft something or write down something, build something that represents this. Personally, I really like to work with symbols, with little puppets, stuff like that. Also, if someone finds it, it will freak the fuck out. It will be hilarious. No, but then you just search for a spot that has some sort of meaning to you, or it doesn't need to have meaning for you. It can also just be a plain patch of soil somewhere. You dig a little hole and you bury that. And on that note, I want to say, please only use materials that are safe and compostable, so you don't harm wildlife and whatnot. You don't want to litter. Once you've given it back to the earth, you placed it there, you can now really take the time to say your goodbyes. That can be by remembering also the good parts or the lessons it brought to your life, the things you have learned. It can also be just sitting with your emotions for a while, with a grief or with a sadness or with a frustration or anger or whatever it brings up for you. It might also be relief that you feel. And then once you're done and really allowed yourself to feel that, to say whatever you wanted to say, you bury it there. And you just let it rot, if you will so, and it will decompose and make, in a sense, way for new fertile ground. And this also works really well for topics that you might have on your mind just too often every day, and you want to give that a little break. You can take that topic, you can bury it, banish it out of your thoughts, and then only visit it at certain times so you allow yourself certain feelings or to think about it. When we go into the darker half of the year, For me personally, the pull towards the darker arts is also much stronger. While in spring and summer, a lot of the spells and rituals I craft are about renewal, energy, community, and all of that fun stuff, autumn and winter for me is much more reflective. It's an ideal time for shadow work, for example. And personally, I like to make it special. I really like to tap in that dark academia fantasy. It's a wonderful time of year to dive into witchcraft, spirituality, philosophy, with maybe new books and materials that you haven't looked at yet. Depending where you live, what your culture is, you can also look into the typical folk practices for this time of year. Where I live, there's much more of the spirit world related ones, much more of the darker magic, so to say, the darker beliefs, the more gory one, if you will, that deal with topics like sickness, death, dark spirits and entities. And speaking of which, there's actually a really wonderful audiobook on that topic that I can recommend. It's called Of Blood and Bones, and I listened to it on Audible, which an app I have mentioned many times in my videos, and they finally sponsored me. I'm ridiculous excited. They constantly renew their catalog, they always add more things, and with a membership you get 1 credit, so 1 title a month for free, and then on top of that you can listen to all the already included Audible content like podcasts, Audible originals, audiobooks. I have been using it for almost a decade, and especially in the last year, much more witchy things were added to the list there too. For example, the wonderful audiobook of Healing the Witch Wound. Also a great suggestion for this time of year. Apart from that, let's take a peek in my library. We do have fantasy, historic stuff, mystery stuff, spicy stuff, light-hearted novels, and so much more. In the description box you can find a link for a 30-day free trial, or you just text BACKS to 500. We can not only honor the spirit of spooky season in the audiobooks we listen to, but we can also romanticize it a little bit by picking location, listening while you take a stroll through the mist-filled forests in the morning, or maybe you can find a cozy medieval tavern where you can just sit and sip on your warming drink, pop in your headphones. Also great, by the way, if you don't want to sit there with a cover that full on reads, "Hey, I'm a witch, come and judge me," but it's more private because it's in here and only on your phone screen. Great for locations where people might not be as open-minded about this particular spirituality. You can make it nice at home, light some candles, put on some background ASMR, get yourself a pen and a paper and journal like you're some 1800s poet. You know what I mean. Make it cool, make it witchy, make it dark academia. Other great places are old libraries, sometimes little independent bookstores, and you can immediately make a day out of it. Grab some potion ingredients at pharmacy or the metaphysical store and, you know, live your best witchy life. Every time I go to the shops this time of year, I just have the most intense scents hit my nose, and obviously there is like fall scented candles everywhere, and for me it's really hard to resist because I do like how they look, and they make the cute labels and they have all these like spice and scent combinations that are super nice, but unfortunately I also know how toxic they are and that it's really not a good thing to burn them in your house. I did too much research and now I cannot go back from that knowledge. Anyone else has that issue? I ruined so many fun things for myself that way. So if you are a fellow scrunchy crunch, make your own candles because it's the perfect time to sit inside and do handiwork anywhere. If it's now embroidery or crafting something, painting something, or making candles. As a witch, maybe you work a lot of candle magic too, and it's quite nice to use this time to make spell candles or make any kind of like candles, just maybe also for ambiance, cottage witchery yourself, infuse them with some magic if you now put intention in it, or if you just focus on really making them healthy by, for example, using soy wax. I think a lot of people like. Personally, I love beeswax, which you can get really inexpensive from a local beekeeper, for example. And of course, you can also repurpose wax from old candle, you know, the little thing that's still like left and then you cannot really burn, the wick is already like away from the wax. You don't have to throw that away. You can make that into a completely completely new candle. Can be a very cozy autumn evening activity. If you want to even get more creative with it or want to learn new techniques, what's also fun is to craft a mullein candle, like a historic candle where you take mullein and you dip it basically in oil and wax, and then you can use that as a torch, or some people call it a witch's candle. If you're very into folk practices, now this time of year here, for example, is where people used little talon candles or blood and deer fat. So sorry, my vegans and vegetarians, but this is what they did. They used that to light their lanterns and their candles, especially those that are placed into the window to ward off the evil spirits. One of my favorites to do this time of year, and I showed it in a Samhain vlog from I think 2 or 3 years ago, is to make little soul boats. And this you can do by decorating a piece of bark with all natural materials that you relate in some ways maybe to your ancestor or spirit or whatever else you want to honor. And then you can make a little candle with a tangerine peel and oil, and as long as you don't live in a very dry climate, you can then light it on fire and send it down the river, and it will just carry that light and your intention and the greetings to the other side of the whale, if you will, down the river. Very beautiful to watch, fun Samhain activity. And on the topic of candles, a lot of people also use this time of year to get more into a spiritual or witchy routine. We're focusing a bit more on ourselves again. The energies are more inward going. You spend probably more time at home in the coziness of your four walls. If you already have a spiritual witchy routine and now the season is changing, you might want to change it up accordingly so it fits your needs better. If you want one but just don't get in the swing of it, don't have one yet, now it's an amazing time to start. And I do have a little idea on how to help you with that, because we want to build small, we want to start small, right? Maybe with 5 minutes a day doing something that feeds your spirit. Journaling, tarot card pull, setting an intention, just sitting with your thoughts and staring out the window or taking in how the nature outside looks. And to really remind you of that, you could make your own candle. All you need is a wick that you can get in a craft store, and then you take some old wax from different candles, you heat it up and you pour it in layers so you have a multicolored candle. Now every day you can light this candle and wait until one layer is burned down, and during the time that takes, you do your witchy thing. It's also a great visual representation for you, seeing like how much time do I actually invest in myself, in my spiritual practice, in my self-care. Speaking of colder weather, or when you come in from your wonderful little fall walk, make a warming potion, make a cozy potion in your witch's kitchen, and really fuel it with intention and with magic. Not just like a brew, a coffee or a tea, which is also nice, and especially if you have a low spoon day or just, you know, want to have something quick and easy, can be just as magical. But if you have a little extra time, it can just be 5 minutes. How about really thinking about it and crafting something that will fuel your insides with that enchantment and with that cheer and with whatever you need in that moment. So when I work with ingredients, especially in kitchen witchery, I usually work with a threefold way, and it also is true for me when I work herbal witchcraft or green witchcraft. First, I look at what the ingredient does on a medicinal or mundane level, right? So if I want to call in calm, I would probably pick a base ingredient of like lemon balm tea or milk. If I want to have something peppy, I rather choose maybe coffee or black tea. If I want to have something that opens my mind or touches my emotions, if you will, I might go for a red wine or a mugwort tea. If I want something energizing, water, sparkling or still. Same goes for added herbs or spices or fruit. Dude, speaking of which, this is super gross, so if you don't want to hear this, just skip 30 seconds ahead. But I just had a pumpkin spice latte cheesecake frappuccino that for sure took up the entire calorie count for this day. And I'm so hard fighting diarrhea right now. All right, back to topic. Where were we? Oh, clenched. I'm sorry. Oh, you're gross. Gross. Second, we want to look into ingredients that we have a personal association with. If you want to do ancestor work around that time of year, reconnecting with people that have passed in your life, maybe you want to include something that your grandma always used, or a traditional drink brewing technique that the people in your area use, that is like a cultural drink for you. If you want to make a love potion for your partner and you, take something that symbolizes your romantic relationship. Scent and taste are incredibly powerful tools that you have when it comes to kitchen witchery, because they have the power to transport your mind immediately to a memory, to a visual, to a fantasy. And this is exactly what you want when you also want to visualize in your spell, when you want to picture something, a desired outcome, for example. So let it help you. And the third layer is to look into things that have, through your folk witchcraft practice, your belief, your whatever book of magic spells, association or a correspondence with the certain topic that you're working with. A lot of people do that only or that first. For me, it doesn't work quite as well because I need that personal connection with the items I work with. And of course, you can add many layers by stirring it a certain direction or a certain amount of times, doing it on a specific day of the week, incorporating moon water, and so on and so forth. But when it's blah outside, there is nothing better than a magical potion crafted. One of my personal spooky season activities is to go out in nature. I mean, I'm doing that all year round, but I love to especially go to caves, stones, specific stone circles, or in my area there's a lot of like Celtic sites, and castles. Why is that? Well, first of all, as I said before, it's kind of a retreat to the cycle, the darkness of the earth for me. It just feels that way. Nature's kind of preparing to be covered up, be covered under snow, rest and recharge. So for me, caves this time of year kind of like feel like walking into the womb of Mother Earth, right? It's a great place to meditate, to be alone with your thoughts. It also reminds me just of time passing and all how humanity basically has evolved from also living in caves to now where we are. And that's also a reason why I like to go to these ritual sites or castles, because it kind of connects me to the people that have lived in where I live now, in my country, in my piece of earth, many centuries before me, and they had built there and they had shaped their lives there, lived their beliefs there. And a lot of people say this time of year the veil is thin, you can really connect with ancestors, and that can also be ancestors of land. So the people that came before you, that shaped the culture, that shaped the traditions there. And to connect with that idea through looking up these historic sites and just going there and immersing yourself in that experience, maybe meditating there for a little bit, put a little offering there, or just marvel at it. It's such a lovely activity. Plus, usually that time of year is also not that touristy. There are not so many travelers or hikers there, so you really have a chance to be a little bit alone with your thoughts. Plus, added benefit, beautiful fall foliage. Hello. Connecting to a seasonal harvest item. Great way to learn something new and to expand your practice. I also love to do that with my little crotch goblins, because they just learn better when they, have something to do, use their hands and actually connect the knowledge to some memory, to some activity that we did. I mean, that's also true for adults, I guess. Here, one of these traditional harvest items is the apple. And there is an incredible amount of folk belief, history, different cultures and different eras see the apple as a magical item, very heavily intertwined with symbolism and with all sorts of practices, but they really differ from love and fertility to death, decay and the other world. It's very fascinating. I'm not going to take you too much down a rabbit hole right now, because I feel like it's a great way for you to also do your own research and see, hey, how can I connect to that? And then maybe really take the time in autumn to do something with that item every day, every other day. If it's now kitchen witchery, make your apple butter, make your cakes, make your teas, chalice jams, apple mead. Or if you sit down and create a little spell surrounding the topic and the meaning of the apple that you have researched. You can also just take it as a moment of mindfulness. Sit there, cut it open, see the magic in the middle, eat it with intention and feel that enchantment and that energy filling you. I mean, you also know what they say, an apple a day keeps the doctor away, which is amazing during flu season. I do very much hope that you enjoyed these spooky season activities and ideas. If you haven't seen the other video yet, check it out. And from next week, we're going right into Samhain, how to celebrate, what to do, and really cool, fun, witchy ideas on how to honor the spirit of it. Have a lovely day and see you soon. Goodbye. Bye. Suddenly filth coming up.
Eh? What filth?
Well, only smut stuff.